we just watched an ugly game between the Florida Gators and the Arkansas Razorbacks, and I am here and forced to talk about it. This is the night shift. We're going to talk about the Arkansas game, the prospects. We're going to dive into some other games that have happened today for the Saturday slate. Let's go ahead and rock. Welcome to the night shift here on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel and your podcast player of choice. I'm Stephen Gillespie, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to break down this all by my lonesome. I am a man on an island, and as the resident Razorback fan, those who know me, for those who haven't tuned into the night shift yet and are just diving in at this portion of the draft cycle, I just want to say welcome to No Ceilings. Welcome to the night shift. On today's episode on Saturdays is typically when we break down all the games because Saturday nights in basketball are just absolutely bonkers. We've been getting some crazy matchups throughout the year. And this is where we as a collective will go and just kind of let our hair down and have a good time. So if you're new here, welcome. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share and talk about this episode with all your friends. It's going to be a good time. All right, so we're here to talk about the Arkansas Razorbacks versus the Florida Gators. Florida wins in a monumental blowout, tremendous fashion, 111-77. And yeah, it just ripped my heart out as a Razorback fan. I'm going to take the fan hat off and do the analysis bit here, though. Florida had, let's see here, 7 people scoring double figures in this game. An absolute rout. I mean, everything, if you were a Gators fan coming into this, listen, they have this freshman on the other team, this guard who is leading the SEC in scoring, who is averaging six assists per game. In conference play is averaging 50, 40, 80. And we have to make his job a living heck. And they did that. They suffocated, Darius Acuff Jr. for the majority of this game. But then they also just cut off the water to pretty much everybody else not named Billy Richmond. And they won this game off of defense. And today was a callback to last season when the Florida Gators, with pretty much a different cast of characters, a different identity, even when, my guy Elijah Martin, when Walter Clayton Jr., when Will Richard were on this team, that backcourt and that wing group really set the edge for this team under coach Todd Golden. And the defense was the calling card of this team. And then Florida goes into the offseason. They bring in ex-Razorback Boogie Flan, who did all of Arkansas a favor by talking about how, the staff didn't check in on him. We never loved him and all this other stuff. And in the mind of an athlete, that's probably true, right? Like, as an athlete, you have to give yourself bulletin board material. From everyone that I've ever talked to about that, that's just not how it happened, not the way it went down, but that's neither here nor there. But Florida gets Boogie Flan in the offseason. They get Xavier Lee from Princeton, who looked like one of the best portal ads. Rough start, getting adjusted to playing with the new team, playing against better, consistent, more night-to-night competition as a member of the Florida Gators. Struggled a little bit. He's gotten better. Thomas Haugh, 6-man last year, comes off the bench as a 4, 5, maybe even a little bit of 3 if you need it. Starting 3-man, for the Florida Gators, and probably the runaway SEC Player of the Year now following this contest tonight. And then you got Alex Condon, who flirted with a little bit of draft stuff from last year. You've got Micah Handglotton, who is on this team rotational capacity. How can we forget Ruben Chinyelu, who is quietly presenting himself a strong case as a draftable player this year. And then Brown coming in off the bench, doing all kinds of great things for this team. Just recently, Isaiah Brown from the Orlando, Florida area, not too far south of where I'm living at right now, coming to this team kind of mid-season and really just adding a punch, giving them an extra layer of depth. They also have, where's my guy at? Urban Klobuchar, 14 points. I don't know how he was 4 of 10 in the box score. It felt like my guy just could not miss a single shot tonight. And this egalitarian, very fun style of offense for the Florida Gators, it was really who was open. That's who we're getting the ball to. Ruben Chenyelu got most of his points off of the glass. You got some points off the glass for Handglotton. You got some points off of the glass for Condon. It's just rebound by committee, defense by committee. Where's the opening? We're going to hit the guy. And that's really what it comes down to. It wasn't just an offensive performance, because if it was just an offensive performance, Arkansas, who, let me take my bias hat off real quick. Arkansas has been surprisingly a good team this year, much better than I thought they were going to be. Now, those who listened to me in the offseason talk anything about Arkansas, I was worried about this front court for matchups just like tonight. My worst nightmare happened, with, listen, Trevon Brazile has had moments where he's been really, really good. Malik Ewan, Nick Pringle, they're big guys for compared to humanity, but in the realm of college basketball, this front court, when you go up against other real front courts, that's where the struggles happen, and that's what we saw. I mean, look at the rebounding disparity. Florida was plus 20 on the glass to Arkansas tonight. 51 rebounds, 16 of those on the offensive glass. Now, we'll say Arkansas, to their credit, they had 14 offensive rebounds, but still in a deficit. They could not box out Florida, though, to keep them off the defensive glass. 35 defensive rebounds. And some of that, yes, comes down to boxing out, but just the defense, my goodness, from Florida. The defense from Florida held us to, Arkansas, to 40% from the floor and 31% from deep. It's just not it. If you go down the Arkansas lineup, Nick Pringle missed his only field goal attempt and was also 0 of 5 from the free throw line. Trevon Brazile only got up 4 shots tonight, was 2 of 4, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Malik Thomas, they held him to 5 of 13 from the floor, only 10 points, was 0 of 2 from deep, missed his only free throw attempt. Malik Ewan off the bench, he got 9 points, but on 3 of 11 shooting. DJ Wagner, 12 points on 4 of 8 shooting, was the best kind of efficiency night off of the bench for Arkansas. But then if you look, right, Darius Acuff Jr., we're going to talk about him in a second, held him to 6 of 19, 1 of 3 from deep, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Billy Richmond was the only Razorback who can get anything open, and we're going to talk about him here in just a second. But Florida was so active. They showed why they're a top 10 team. I believe they were, number 7 coming into the night. It's probably going to go up. They just, even though there's such an influx of talent, the core players of Haugh, Chenyelu, Handglotton, and Condon all showed up. That front court is really what held it down. Condon did a great job of defending in space a lot of times tonight. Got open in transition, really ran the floor and scored. You also saw Boogie Flan doing a really good job defending tonight too, doing a lot of things early on the defensive end, getting early position. Xavier Lee, spark plug. Literally whatever he wanted to do, it felt like it was working. He got so many of those extended one-handed layups on the offensive end. Dove on the floor and got an offensive rebound, head first into a rebound, and got it. The hustle, the effort, and the energy was with the home team tonight with Florida, and they absolutely waxed Arkansas. They waxed the Razorbacks. It was ugly. It was ugly early. It wasn't like outside of like let's say the first 5-6 minutes. It did not feel competitive at all. And then from there, the beatings just continued. I felt I felt helpless watching that game. I had to watch it to the end because of what we do here at No Ceilings. But my goodness, that was just not very fun for me. I'll just put it to you like that. But Thomas Haugh, lottery level talent. He's showing a lot of great things. Thomas Haugh, 22 points, 7 of 12 shooting from the floor, 1 of 3 from deep, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, competed on the glass, got 5 rebounds, one of those on the offensive end, got 1 block, 1 steal, chipped in with a couple of assists. Smart player, doing smart things. He did, and to open the game, the defense looked like it was going to be a little bit of a problem for him being matched up against Billy Richmond. But the activity level of Florida just really kicked in, and he was fine. That rounded out in the shape. Ruben Chinyelu, let's park here for a minute because the guy had 12 rebounds on 3 of 7 shooting, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 16 rebounds, 4 of those coming on the offensive glass, and 2 blocks. Now he's interesting. He's listed, I believe, at like 6'10", 265. Big guy. He's a big guy, you know, a very strong, capable post presence. Shooting touch is what it is. You're not drafting him if you are drafting him for a shooter, but does he do the big man things well? He is a big guy to set screens. He competes on the glass. He gets second chance points. He does a decent job defensively. I don't think that he's going to be like an all defensive guy by any means at the next level. But as a rotational big, you could do a lot worse. I don't know how tall he's going to be. It's interesting that he's listed at 6'10". Usually you got to be a little bit more dubious whenever you're looking at college websites and how they have players listed size wise. Is he going to be a little bit shorter than that? Is he going to be like 6'8.5", 6'9", anything like that? Or Florida being honest and listing him at 6'10", and that's going to be accurate? Hard to say. I'm warming up to the idea of him. And even though this class, the 2026 NBA draft class, even though this class isn't, I would say, top heavy with big men, it's the amount of kind of like middling first round, early second round big man, that conversation is getting pretty loud. We're going to talk about another guy here tonight who is kind of in the mix for that sort of a draft range as well. But Chinyelu is doing an interesting job. Rebounding typically translates, especially for big men at the next level. Defense, size, screen setting. Why not? Why not take a shot at Ruben Chinyelu, at least in the second round? Of course, we do the obligatory, well, if all the freshmen who were projected pick 18 and later, go back, then how high could he get? I don't know, maybe late first, without doing really any heavy lifting and work right now. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in him. There's some things there to like. Now, Alex Condon has had his second pretty solid game in a row. Tonight finished with 17 points on 7 of 14 shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. Missed his only 3-point shot, was only 3 of 5 from the free throw line, but the movement, the craft, the counters that he showed tonight, the willingness to compete on the glass, run the floor, and transition. My gosh, he had one beautiful transition play where he rose up and dunked it. Everything just looks so fluid for Condon. And I have kind of written him off a little bit, but I at least have to consider him in the second round range. Like, seriously now, he's being very productive. Yes, he's on a good team. Yes, he's kind of doing this platoon thing to where he can sell out, be a little bit more reckless, commit a little bit more to giving more effort, knowing that, hey, I got Handglotton can come in off the bench and give me a spell. Just things like that. It's interesting for him. I wax and wane with him, but again, another player with size, with feel, who can pass, who can rebound, give you some effort on the defensive end. You trust him to run the break. Florida just having all these dudes, it's really unfair. Again, poor me as a Razorback fan. We've only been winning a lot. It's cool. But Condon as a draft prospect, he's very interesting as well. Again, you not top heavy in the 2026 NBA draft class with big men, but you kind of get to this late first, second round range where I don't know, maybe I get my point guard of the future or my wing player that I really like in the first round, and then maybe some of these guys will declare and come in just because who knows what next year looks like for them at that position group right now. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'll leave it at that. Now let's have the hard conversation here. The part that I'm somewhat dreading and stalled a little bit to get to, if I'm being perfectly honest. Arkansas Razorbacks. Again, 40% shooting from the floor on 75 total shots. We took more shots. I say we. The Arkansas Razorbacks took more shots. They shot the ball 75 times to the 69 field goal attempts of the Florida Gators. The Gators shot 57%. The Razorbacks shot 40%. The Razorbacks took 6 fewer three-pointers than the Florida Gators. Again, it feels weird. It felt like at a certain point, Arkansas started getting into heaving mode to get into desperation and try to make this game a little bit more competitive than what it ultimately ended up being. Still, Arkansas was -6 in three-point attempts and -11 in three-point percentage. That's not going to get it done. And then at the free throw line, this is where we left a lot of meat on the plate, so to speak, a little meat on the bone. 54%. Now, granted, Florida's a wild environment. Been there. It's a crazy place to experience a sporting event down in Gainesville. Still, 54% from the free throw line. And from people that you wouldn't, I mean, listen, Malik missed 0 of 1. He didn't get there very often. DJ was 1 of 2. Nick Pringle, he was on the line for 5 attempts. I would have been happy if he hit 2. I'll put it to you like that. I don't expect much of Nick Pringle from the free throw line. He's more of an enforcer. However, Darius Acuff was 4 of 6, and Billy Richmond was 4 of 4. Malik Ewing was 3 of 4. So the guys that got to the line multiple times outside of Pringle kind of did their job. The problem is that Florida created this wall for Arkansas, and it didn't matter if it was Darius Acuff Jr., it didn't matter if it was Malik Thomas, it didn't matter if it was DJ Wagner. The angles that Florida took away just from their enormity really confounded Arkansas. That's what really made the game hard. For Darius Acuff, yes. For Malik Thomas, yes. For DJ Wagner, yes. The only player that didn't seem to struggle as much with the size was Billy Richmond. Billy finished with 22 points on 9 of 17 shooting. He missed his 2 3-point attempts. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Look, Billy Goat is all go all the time. Norton in the chat mentioned in the comments, he said all this talk about Swain. Is Billy Richmond a this year guy? I'll put it to you like this, Norton. I have him in my top 35, and the reason why I include the top 35 is that last tier that is in the first round, I believe at like, say, spot 23, goes all the way down to 35. Billy is in there. Now, do you want to get drafted 23rd overall? Do you want to get drafted, 35th, 32nd in the class? Maybe. Maybe that's where Billy feels like he's going to be best suited to get drafted. Not everything is linear, as we all know, whenever we look at this. Riley Kugel, who's playing at UCF and lost by a point tonight in a very tough game against Baylor. Riley Kugel was once thought to be a surefire return. We'll get you there. You're only gonna rise because progress is this. It's a steady incline, right? Riley Kugel is gonna have to work really, really hard if he wants to be in the NBA. That's where we're at right now. He's doing great things at UCF. I've seen him live. I went to the Legends Classic and saw him in person. There's some really redeeming aspects to his game, but there's a lot of players who kind of do the same thing. For Billy, it's a little bit more interesting because he is in a tier of another player that we're going to talk about who kind of offers the same little bit of skill set. Billy going in, like, I fully would expect him, and this is not intel based, this is me just projecting gut feeling. I would expect, again, gut feeling, please hear me. I would expect Billy to test just to get feedback, right? He finished with 22 points. I believe this is either his fifth or his sixth 20-point game in a row after never scoring 20 points ever in college. So he's experiencing this meteoric, like, oh, look at all this, look at all these things I can do now. Like, I had the tools to be able to do this for a long time, but now I'm starting to piece together sequences. I'm starting to understand how the game works. I think that if he was to test, I think there are going to be a lot. I already know that there are teams that like him, right? I would expect the feedback to be very specific with him, and I would expect him to take that feedback seriously and improve on it. And who knows, in 2027 right now, what that draft is going to look like. But he's interesting. I wouldn't rule it out. And I see 92 kid NYC in the chat said Billy's a second round, borderline first. In my opinion, he's been solid this year. Yeah, again, that's where I have him. In this tier that goes from like 23 to 35. Norman Red in the chat says Juke Harris versus Billy versus Tunde. What's the prospect order? I would say it's really close. I would say Billy and Tunde are neck and neck, and then Juke is probably a step below because Juke's defense just hasn't been there. I feel like he's got it, right? Based off of film that I've seen prior to this year and just how much Wake has put on his plate. I would put Juke in like a step behind those two. I think Billy and Tunde are a lot closer now, obviously, than what they were coming into the season. Tunde's been struggling, different type of player. I get all of that. Very active, very athletic. Both can probably offer a team very similar things, but you're hoping to get more out of a Tunde than you would expect to get from a Billy, is how I'll kind of put that. But Billy he did his best, like there was a lot going on very early in the game. He took like back-to-back possessions, went right at Thomas Haugh and scored. And I was like, oh man, like please give me some more of this. Billy did all he could. And now here's a little disclaimer. I'm probably going to get a little bit passionate, I'll say, talking about Darius Acuff Jr. here, okay? Based on what I've already seen on the internet. And I'm trying really hard this year to not let the internet impact my attitude whenever I'm doing things, but I'm only human. I bleed red just like everybody else. Darius Acuff finished tonight with 17 points on, what does this say, 6 of 19 shooting from the floor, 1 of 3 from deep, 4 of 6 from the line. Had 6 assists, 2 rebounds, no stocks. Rough game. There's no other way to talk about it. He had a rough night. This is coming off of another rough night off of Texas A&M, but he kind of got taken out of the game, went to the bench. Calipari gave him an opportunity, kind of put the puzzle back together. He came back into the game and did a lot of really good things to help Arkansas compete in that game against A&M. I was hopeful that we would see something similar happen in the second half with Acuff. And listen, again, he showed signs that he's human. And every prospect in this class has had a game like this. So it bothers me. I'm really trying, guys. Just please be patient. It bothers me that a couple minutes after the game, I'm already starting to see well, it's a good thing that Darius Acuff isn't going to have to play against big front courts like Florida. He. Darius Acuff Jr. entered tonight with a couple things going for him. One good, one bad. The bad, he's been gutting out, and shout out to Antoine Willis. Yo, what's up, Steven? Appreciate your hard work, man. Antoine, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you swinging through. Darius Acuff had a couple things going for him coming into the night. Some good, some bad. The bad, we all saw it was kind of weirdly given to us that he had an ankle injury a couple games ago. And it was like, oh, yeah, he had a boot, but he still performed really well. And it's like, oh, okay, wow. I think that was like the 40 something point game that he dropped, a while back. And it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then against in the Texas A&M game, it was like, yeah, he's been wearing the boot. We saw him step on a player's ankle and kind of grimace. And at the end of the game, whenever he was talking to people after the game, people were asking him about his ankle. Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to play. Don't worry about it. I want to play. I'm going to be out there. And then we started getting the reports before this game even kicked off that he spent the entire week in a boot. He didn't practice. He's been trying to nurse this ankle injury. Okay. So keeping that in mind, he went up against the number 7 team in the country, best team in the SEC, one of the favorites in the tournament. Huge team, yes. And he had an ankle injury. Now, there's a big part of me that says, hey, he went out there on the court. We got to judge him for what he did on the court. Yeah, absolutely. But take everything into context. It's not like he just went out here and just dropped 6 of 19 on good health. He's hobbled. Florida clearly targeted him early and said, anybody but you is going to beat us. And it looked like Billy was going to be his Batman tonight, or his Robin tonight, and really help him out. But Acuff struggled. So that was the bad thing that he had going for him coming into the night. The good thing that Acuff had going for him coming into the night is that the guy was on a streak of 9+ games, scoring at least 20 points. And in that 9-game stretch, he scored 20 points on the dot just once. He scored over 30 points a couple times. He scored over 40 points once, and then sprinkled in some 20-point performances in that 9-game stretch. And if I really wanted to get technical, I could say, well, 10 of his last 11, he did the same thing, right? So I'm not going to look at this one game where he's shown that he's human and be like, oh, this is a problem. And I'm not going to look at this one game that he's shown that he's human, and I know that he's not 100%, and I know that he's got an ankle injury. And I'm not going to be like, this is a fully weightable data point metric and put this in, again, in my Darius Acuff eval. If he did this without and I had no knowledge of an ankle injury, it would be different. But I knew coming into this game that he was hobbled. And I knew coming into this game that, look, our front court has been the problem. I say Arkansas's front court has been a problem in my head since the off season. And it's the teams like the Floridas of the world that are giving the footing for that. And again, look at what the team did. Malik Thomas, who I love. I have him in my first round, by the way, as of now. 10 points on 5 of 13 shooting, missed 2 3-pointers, and missed his only free throw attempt. This was almost a throwaway game. This is almost a throwaway game to where it's like, what are the takeaways? No one could hit anything tonight. That's not a Darius Acuff Jr. game. That is, no one could get anything going tonight. It was so bad that the environment in the game and just kind of like the energy of the game, I genuinely feel like that's what caused Arkansas to shoot 54% from the free throw line. If you look, we had 10 assists. I say Arkansas. I keep correcting myself like that too, by the way. I really enjoy that. It's fun for me. Arkansas had 10 assists, Florida only had 15. Arkansas had 9 turnovers. Florida had 12. The rebounding is what killed Arkansas, and that's a front court problem. That is completely and utterly a front court problem. Arkansas got bullied. Arkansas got bullied. And it is what it is. We got waxed. Arkansas got waxed. They got smacked. And best player enter the game hobbled. And the best player enter the game hobbled. And Florida made anybody else in the world beat them. And for a little bit, it was Billy. Billy tried his. Billy Goat is one of my favorite players. Not just because I'm a Razorback guy, but just because anybody who's not a Razor, like anybody who is not an Arkansas fan, if you say who's your favorite player on Arkansas, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you it's Billy Goat just because of the way that he plays. Major props to Florida for this game. A lot of these guys are changing my mind on where I could probably have them ranked. Billy Goat had a great game. This Darius Acuff game, he's human. He's human. And he had a tough night. And it is what it is. But it's not an everything game. That's just the way that scouting works, at least for me. All right, so I hope you enjoyed my little rant there, because now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about a game that made me happy. A fun game. Very fun game. Arizona versus Kansas. What a game. There's so much going on. Let's just open with Arizona. Speaking of waxed, it wasn't as bad as the Arkansas-Florida game. But Arizona beats Kansas 84-61 in a game of 2 halves for a lot of different players. Let's start with Arizona, who, Koa Pete, welcome back, by the way. And I'm starting to call him primetime Koa Pete because it feels like in big games is whenever he steps up. He had a really good game against Florida, the very first game of the season, where he dropped like 30 points. In the first half, he had 10. And overall, he finished with 12 points on 4 of 9 shooting, was 4-4 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 3 of those on the offensive glass, 5 assists, and 1 steal. He opened this game with an absolute, he was re-energized, reinvigorated. He was just perfect to start this game. He was giving effort on the glass. He was putting his body into a defender and finding crevasse for a post finish. He was doing some driving and kicking. He was just playing good defense, crashing the glass, hunting for some fun shots in the first half. Now in the second half, it wasn't his time in the game, I'll say, for Pete to continue to assert his dominance in the second half. But that first half, he was fantastic. Just here's the truth with how I've been evaluating Koa. And my guy Nathan Grubel over at No Ceilings, in our No Ceilings group chat that we have, he said for the past 2 months, granted, I'll give you, this is his first game back after, I believe it was Valentine's Day, if I'm not mistaken, where he got a lower leg injury. He needed to sit out, recover, come back whenever he felt like he was capable. So we'll call it a month and a half if we're including an injury. But calendar-wise speaking, the past 2 months, Pete was very inconsistent. You know, did he have games where he scored a bunch? Sure. He also had games where he couldn't. Very inconsistent. Very reluctant three-point shooter. I think the last I looked, because I'm working on a piece for over at NoCeilingsNBA.com, I'm working on a Koa Pete piece that will release this upcoming Thursday. And I believe he's shooting 1.5 threes per 100 possessions. That's anemic. That's invisible. That's transparent. It's non-existent in terms of three-point volume. Like you can't even evaluate that sample size, it feels like. Doesn't matter if he's shooting 33%. I think he's interesting, and I have a sneaky suspicion, and this is like a big thesis, like kind of like the tent pole angle of my piece is that I feel like Koa Pete is going to be such a better NBA player than a college player. Some of that has to do with the fact that he's playing on a team similar to Florida, where there are just so many mouths to feed. And here's the thing, if Pete struggles, Florida can just bring in off the bench Tobe Awaka, who would start in a bunch of D1 schools. So there's a little bit of, hey, Arizona's got aspirations. Coach Lloyd is a fantastic coach. They have depth. There's a lot of things that they can do rotationally to be to be competitive no matter kind of what's happening. So Pete did great in the first half, second half. I'm just going to chalk this up to working his way back into game shape, figuring out how to realign himself with his team. The team did different things rotationally while he was gone, reintegrating someone who had one of the highest usage rates on his team, even though his usage rate relative to the rest of the class isn't that high. It's a big thing to just kind of like reintroduce back into a team. But it was good to see him play the way that he did. Man, there's so many people I want to talk about on this team. Do I want to go for the guy who just kind of like stole the show? Let's do this. I love Ivan Karchenkov, and I'm really going to try my best to keep saying Karchenkov and not Kovchar or Konchar or one of these other very similar sounding names. I'm going to try to say Karchenkov a lot. If I'm just going to disclaimer this now. If I say something other than Karchenkov, please understand for all intents and purposes that that's who I'm trying to refer to if it slips. Okay. He is so much fun. I mentioned earlier with Billy Richmond that I have him in this tier that goes from like 23 to 35. Karchenkov is right in that range too. Now, look, I know my guy can't shoot. He was 1 of 3 from deep. I think that 33% that he shot is actually going to help his shooting average. That's how inefficient he can be from deep. And look, whenever I've done research on him at any like real level of basketball, he's never been like a plus 30% 3-point shooter. I'm not saying he can't be because the shot doesn't look bad. He's a decent free throw shooter, but I'm not expecting him to really be like a knockdown 3-point shooter. But what I love about him is that he competes on the glass for one. Like he's listed at 6'7", 230. He carries that 230 really well. Like when he gets his full like grown man strength, he's gonna be a nightmare. Like he guards 1 through 5 in college. That's not hyperbole, and I'm not projecting him to be able to do that in the NBA. But right now, he can guard 1 through 5 in college. That's pretty impressive. He's a pretty sound decision maker too. He's not going to break people down off of a live action dribble and throw whip hook passes or anything like that. But he's going to make good snappy reads. He finds Krivas a lot. He had a couple of really good like high low, just straight snap, boom, hit my open man, and he's going to score. He can do that. And he's going to give it to anybody that he's lined up against on the defensive end. Karchenkov is one of the best defenders in college basketball. He's a dog. He will shut the water off to anybody that he's lined up against. And he did that tonight. And the 11 points that he gives his team, that's just gravy. You know, you don't really rely on him as a scorer, but he does fun slashing stuff. You know, he's a good cutter. He'll be aggressive if he feels like he's got a mismatch. And again, he's going to shoot threes confidently, even if he's not hitting them. Again, the form doesn't look bad. It's a bit of a moon ball. It's a bit of a workup to get the shot off, but the form doesn't look terrible. I don't know why it's not going in the way in at a higher clip. It's just not. If he gets that figured out, like my guy could legit be a lot. Like if he's hitting threes, this is how good the rest of Karchenkov's game is. If he was shooting 34% on good volume, I'd probably have him lottery. That's why I kind of have him in a tier that goes up to 23 down to 35, somewhere in that neighborhood. Really good game from him. I bleeping love Ivan Karchenkov. I love him. Uh, Speaking of another guy that I love, Braden Burries. Whew, 20 points on 6 of 10 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, had 12 rebounds total in the game, entered the half with 9, 5 assists and a steal. That still is not indicative of his defensive effort. One of the things that I love about Burries is that he's not just like these heat check guards that you get in college. He will face guard whoever he's lined up against, and he face guarded a bunch of dudes. He was on Melvin Council a lot, saw him on Trey White a lot. I think he was on Darren for a couple possessions. I don't have the possession count in front of me. I didn't really check it before the show, but I feel like I saw him on there. If I didn't, oh well, just throw away that little bit of a comment. But the rest of what I'm saying is very relative. He does his work early. Like defensively, he will face guard his man. He'll kind of plan. He has a good plan of attack on how he wants to navigate screens. He's going to poke out the ball. He's got deceptively long arms and he's strong. Hard guy to move off of his line. Whenever he is locked onto a player, he's barrel chested. He's got those broad shoulders. He's a little bit older of a freshman, 20-year-old freshman. He might even be closer to 21 come his first game in the NBA. I to be honest, like that doesn't bother me. I know that that really really matters for a lot of people. I'm not worried about that. The things that I value in a player, especially freshmen, are production is a big part of it. I'm not going to sit here and say production isn't, but he's got the production, right? So check. Again, 20, 12, 5, and 1. Fantastic. On 6 of 10 shooting, 50% from deep, 100% from the free throw line. Love that. Nornrad in the chat. Bingo. Good strength and scrappy. I love that. That's what I want. I had him before this game. I had him top 9 already. Like, and 9 is where my third tier in the draft stopped. So if you want a little bit behind the curtain here, as I hit my microphone with my hat, excuse me. I have, we'll talk about him in a minute, but Darren Peterson and AJ Dabansa as the only 2 players in my number 1 tier. Now I know I'm supposed to have Cam Boozer in there. I don't, and it doesn't mean that I don't like them. I just really like those two's chance at being a number 1 in the NBA. That's just where I'm at. Now, tier 2 has Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson, both of whom I think could be like really supercharged secondary options on really good teams. That's where I have those guys. Then tier 3 goes through players 5 through 9. I had Burries number 9. I bumped him up to 6. Now, some people might look at that as premature. People probably thought the same thing whenever I had Darius Acuff in late December as my PG1, back when it was insane that I wouldn't have Kingston Flemings, who has had some rough stretches recently too. And then Keaton Wagler, who everyone is, not everyone, you being a little bit exaggerative here, exaggerating, whatever. A lot of people would tell me that Keaton Wagler's 1 because here's the thing, Steven. He's got high usage. He's going to handle the ball. Therefore, he's a 1. That's just not the way that I look at it. He's going to be a 2, in my opinion, the way that I evaluate basketball, the way that I see the game. He's going to be a 2. But again, people would tell me whenever I had Darius Acuff Jr. as PG1 that, like, there's no way that I can have him in front of those 2. I let Darius's game do the talking, and then up until tonight, he has been on a rocket, and it's been really easy for me to just keep saying PG1 for Darius. I have Burries at 6, right behind Acuff at 5. And the reason why is because I think Burries gives teams a lot of value when he can play the 1 and the 2 as a score first guy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's pass first. He's the score first guy, but he's going to play off of other creators most likely. He's going to play off of other bigger players most likely. And he's shown that he can space the floor for them and open the floor up for them. He's shown that he can run an offense, that he can score. In transition, I've coined the nickname, and I fully expect someone to pick this up and run with it and not get any credit, and it'll be okay. But I call him Braden Blurries because he is scary in transition, because he's so big, and because he has great body control, and because he's such a good defender that he can turn defense into offense incredibly quick. I just love watching him. Now, I've had interactions today on the line where people were like, yeah, I don't trust him athletically. He might not be like a 4.4 40, for all you NFL draft fans out there. He might not be, but the way that he rebounds, the way that he can switch, the way that he defends, how hard he works, the body control that he has. Again, I value strength, and my guy is strong. I feel confident day one, no matter the game, no matter the team that he's lined up against. I feel like I could put Brain Burries out there on the court, and he can give me minutes day one. I don't know if I can confidently say that about a Keaton Wagler, who's very, very good, and I'm not trying to take away from a Keaton Wagler here. If we're real, the body could be a little bit concerning. I could also say the same thing on Michael Brown Jr. I value strength at pretty much every position, and based on what I've seen tonight against a really good Kansas team, I feel confident that I could have him at 6 and I'll be okay. I don't want to miss on a guy who could be Jamal Murray, Keontae George, a player like that. And that's what I think of Braden Burries. All right, so Krivas. He's interesting, man. He's really doing a number on me to where I feel like I have to have him higher than what I do. Krivas was 13 points on 6 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but he had 10 boards, 2 blocks, an assist, and a steal. He's good, man. He's huge. He's good. He's got good feel. He can work the post. He's got good counters. He gives effort on the defensive end. He's fiery. I love a guy when he plays with his motor hot all the time. And Krivas is really doing a number on me in that regard. I really like him a lot. I think him and Jaden Bradley are the two guys on this team who really could make a case to be taken in the second round. And Bradley wasn't great tonight. He was 3 of 11 for 10 points, 3 assists, no stocks, 1 rebound. He hit a couple of key shots throughout the game, but Krivas, man, he's so good. Such a big body, plays hard. I feel like I'm going to have him a little bit higher on my next big board. But that's it for Arizona here. I'm sure that we want to talk about Darren Peterson because who hasn't? I'm not going to spend the next 5 minutes talking about whether or not he likes basketball. I'm not going to be talking about him and Bill Self's contentious relationship. I'm not going to talk about camp management. I'm going to really just try to keep it about the game and tell it 2 halves. And it's interesting because he finishes with 24 points. And I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, you can paraphrase for me because I'm paraphrasing right now. I believe he scored 12 points in each half, but the second half felt so much better. 8 of 21 from the floor, 3 of 8 from the 3-point line, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 5 boards, 3 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. It was a rough game for Kansas. It was a rough first half, it felt like, for Darren. But he hit a stretch in the second half to where he gets this kind of like hammer screen for a 3, driving into the paint, misses his first layup, quick second bounce to get off the floor to get an offensive rebound for a putback. He had 2 offensive rebounds, both of which came in the second half, and it felt like they were pretty close to back-to-back possessions. They might be plus or minus 2-3 possessions away from each other in terms of the putbacks, but not a great night for him efficiency-wise, but he's still so talented. I don't think that he's still 100% healthy. There was some commentary about how it looks like he's got a little bit of a step back in this game, things like that. Arizona made his life really difficult. A lot of that had to do with Karchenkov. Some of that had to do with Burries, and some of that had to do with Bradley. Like Peterson got a whole bunch of different people thrown his way, and I was a little bit worried in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. That second half went a lot better for Darren, and he felt more impactful. Again, showing signs that he's a little bit more human. But in that second half, he's really showing you why there are people like me who are comfortable still having him at one, despite the injury, despite the whole, psychoanalysis that every podcast has had to, it feel like, dive in and analyze the player without much intel at all. So very interesting game for him. He's really the only player on Kansas. Look, he had 24 of 61 points for the team. Trey White had 13 points on 4 of 10 shooting. Melvin Castle had 13 points on 6 of 10. They shot 34% from the floor compared to Arizona's 45. So a little bit of a difference there. Arizona literally had twice as many defensive rebounds as Kansas, and they were +5 on the offensive glass. So, let's see here in the comments. I think I missed a couple of things in here. Vincent James asked Krivas or Henry Vasar. I think I have I know that I have Vasar higher right now. I'm not ruling out Krivas creeping up into that tier. Right now, he's like at that next tier down. I'm not ruling it out. I still got a little bit more work to do in terms of watching Krivas and seeing how he plays coming in. Norman Rad in the chat said, who's the best point guard in the draft? Darren Peterson. Who's the best shooting guard in the draft? Darren Peterson. Vincent James in the chat says, my problem with AJ would have 10 rebounds and 8 assists along with these 24 points. Vincent, let's see here. I was going to talk about it later. AJ had 20 points on 7 of 15 shooting with 7 boards, 1 assist to 4 turnovers and a steal. And it felt like that 20 points felt a little bit more empty than what it actually was for AJ. And I only caught a little bit of the second half. I'm just going to actually put that box score away. I wasn't going to talk about it a whole lot anyway. But watching both of those guys a little bit tonight, I still feel very confident with having Darren ahead of AJ, even though I know like Bill Simmons, everybody is talking about AJ and the improvements that we've seen. I have them both the same tier right now. Give me Darren for the time being. I'm not going to rule it out. Antoine Willis said, right now, who's your favorite to win the ACC title, Steven? Man, like, to be honest with you, Antoine, I don't really keep up with records like that. I would say Duke, but that's without me. I'm pretty sure Duke has the best record in the ACC, if I'm not mistaken. Vincent James in the chat says Michael Brown Jr. creeping up to that number 1 point guard spot, though lately he's been lights out. He was 0 of 6, if I'm not mistaken, in their game tonight. So, again, all these prospects have games of humanity, and I'm trying to be mindful of that and not be so reactionary, because these Saturdays are so much fun. That's why we do the night shift, so we can come here and have some fun, and then I approach it with a sober mind moving forward throughout the rest of the week. Guys, we've almost hit an hour. The last game that I want to talk about here is the Duke versus Virginia game, where Duke won. Again, another blowout. A lot of blowouts tonight, man. Dirty Dancer says, any word on Ament? I don't know. Like, the last that I heard, Dirty Dancer, to be honest with you, and I've been doing a lot of stuff for like the social media. I've been watching games and taking notes for the show tonight, that I haven't seen or heard anything. I just know that he got hurt in tonight's game. I think he only played like 11 minutes. And Norman Rad in the chat says, not yet. So I don't know. Vincent James says, I'm 0-2 tonight. I didn't catch any of the games. Dude, it feels like anytime that I say something about a prospect on a Saturday, they immediately do the opposite of what I was hoping for. I was really hoping for a great Darius Acuff Jr. game tonight, and I had the conversation with y'all earlier, so it was really different. But Vincent James, dude, I hear you, man. These this class is so wild. It can be like that to where any given night someone's going up for 50 and in the next Saturday they can have real pedestrian game. Okay. Um Last game that we're going to be talking about. Again, it's another blowout game, man. Duke 77 to Virginia's 51. I wasn't expecting this game to be particularly close, but I really want to try to pay attention to how Duke plays in these blowout games, like how they manage players. We got to talk about Cam Boozer, right? Like that's what we do on these draft shows. We got to talk about Cam Boozer. It's interesting because he had 18 points on 3 of 9 shooting. Now, that's not good, Steven. 1 of 4 from deep. Steven, that's not good. 11 of 12 from the free throw line. Okay, Steven, that's pretty good. 9 rebounds, 4 assists to 3 turnovers, still in a block. Virginia has a good front court with DeRitter and Johan Grunlow. There's some size there. There's some experience. There's some growing up in pro clubs overseas. Very interesting matchup for Cam. And listen, he struggled from the floor, obviously. And some of the reasons why I have him in a tier beneath AJ and Darren are because of things like that. But the reason why I have him like right beneath, and I'm not ruling out the fact that he could even join that top tier or that tier could expand or however we want to talk about the boundaries and the way that they move between tiers. He impacted this game so well, and it's interesting because there's a lot of freshmen who could not shoot much or shoot well from the floor who can impact the game in so many ways. Cam Boozer probably being the leader of that sort of descriptor there that I just laid out, to where he was still the best player on the floor, even though he only shot 33% from the floor and 25% from deep, because he was so active on the glass, because he knew that Virginia was going to struggle with him putting them in positions to play tight defense and foul. He had one play in this game to where I forget who it was, but he was doubling in the post. I want to say it was Grunlow, and I forget the other person. But Cam did this fun thing where he just did a simple post pivot and finished through the 2 defenders on a double team. Norman Rad said you can make the case he was still the best in his cerebral harmonics, one of my new favorite draft Twitter buzzwords that I'm going to try to help Norn make a thing here moving forward. Yeah, his cerebral harmonics were off the charts because, he's still rebounding, still zipping the ball around. A couple of really silly turnovers, but defensively got you 2 stocks, and that's been something that has not always been the case with Cam. The consistency on the defensive end, the defensive harmonics haven't always been there, but he made a case tonight that he can still do some good things on that end. Cam, fantastic night. I understand why people would have him number 1 or 2 on their boards. I really do. I have him 3. I feel pretty confident with that ranking, but there's a lot to like with his game. He's one of the most intelligent players in this class. And shout out to Vincent James, says cerebral harmonics. I love it. Norm Rad says defensive harmonics too. Yeah, we're going to make this a thing. But yeah, Cam, fantastic game, even though it was a bad game, if that makes sense. And we're going to give a little bit of love here to Isaiah Evans before we close, because 19 points, 7-11 shooting, 5 of 9 from deep. His 3-point shooting tonight was just insane. Felt like anything that he wanted from deep, it was going in. He moved the ball around well too. He drove into the paint. He didn't really get any free throws, which was weird because he was being aggressive with the ball in his hand. He had one play where he caught it in the right corner, pulled up for 3, and I forget who the defender was, but just sailed right past him. He pulled up for a mid-range shot for a little midi pull-up. When he's doing things like that, and the game is slowing down for Isaiah to be able to do things like that, fantastic. That's what you want to see from him. The game is slowing down. He is applying counters to his shooting gravity. And I love that. And it's not just threes and dunks. Now it's more nuanced to where he's incorporating pump fakes. He's getting to the line. He's being able to do all this like intermediate stuff. And now he's incorporating a little bit of ball movement as well. That's the type of stuff that you want to see. Like the stuff that can make him like a 3-point marksman with a little bit of connectivity to his game too. And he had some really good defensive possessions too. I know he only recorded like one steal tonight, but he had one possession where he was defending on the left wing, and I want to say that that was against what's his name, Chance Mallory. I think he was guarding Chance on the offense's right wing, and he was baseline in the corner defending him. He's just kind of shutting him off. So I really enjoyed seeing that aspect of his game tonight. Duke with a cakewalk. I mean, Pat Youngba had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. No stocks for the analytics darling there. Little concerning for him. I hope he's going to be okay. I'm kidding. He's going to be fine. Malik Brown hit a 3, so that was pretty neat. And then we got to see Darren Harris come in for a spell and hit a couple of threes. So really good effort from Duke. Just adding more wins, more drops in the bucket for that team. But folks, that's going to do it tonight here on the night shift. I'm going to close up, and welcome to March, by the way. We're in the month of madness. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to work on my Randy Savage impression because tonight, since it's now midnight, we're going to have Latif Love on Draft Sickos, myself and my co-host Jam Hines. We are going to have Latif Love, and it's going to be a fun show. We got a bunch of prospects that we haven't really dove into a lot. We're going to be talking about with him, so I'm excited for that. And then the following week, I'm going to be able to announce this because I checked with the guest. Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show is going to be on, not this Sunday today, but the following Sunday. We're going to have Keith Smith on, so it's going to be a fun time. Keep your eyes out over at NoCeilingsNBA.com because we just turned in our big boards as a group, so you know what that means. And I've already looked at our collective board, and primo, it's a sexy board. You guys are going to dig it. All right, so if you're here and you're watching, I know there's a good chance that you're not subscribed because I look at the data. Please hit that subscribe button. It does a lot for the channel. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you are a subscriber or not, hit the like button. That helps us out too. So kind of and or both of those things. But we're going to close up shop here. I just want to thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for hanging out with us. And we're going to close up the night shift here, y'all. And I'll see you guys tonight for Draft Sickos. So get used to seeing my face again this weekend. All right. Love you guys. We'll catch up with y'all later. Much love.